you got to take everything that you see coming out of the NBA Summer League in Las Vegas with a lot of salt. A lot of salt. From Victor Wembanyama being a bust because somebody dunked over him on Friday and he didn't have a good day from the field. His second game, he looked a lot better. To what I'm about to tell you about what we have seen from Jabari Smith Jr. in Las Vegas. But in the 2 games he played, there is an argument to be made that Jabari Smith Jr. was the best young player playing in Las Vegas for those 2 games. He was asked by Jackson Gatlin of the Locked On Rockets podcast as to why he was playing in Vegas. Keyword was. More on that in a moment. Here's what he had to say.
I'm 20 years old. You know what I'm saying? Like, why wouldn't I play summer league? You know, we were 22 and 60 last year. I don't feel like I'm in a position to just sit out. You know what I'm saying? My rookie year wasn't perfect. It wasn't great. So why not get out here and get reps and play with refs, play with my new teammates, play with my new coaches, and just get a feel. You know what I'm saying? I feel like any second-year guy should feel open to play just because of the opportunity. You know what I'm saying? You get to play in front of refs, you get to play in front of the crowd, you get to play a real basketball game against NBA players. So you usually don't get that here. So just take advantage of it.
He's been drawing rave reviews to the point that imagine you hear rave reviews about Jabari Smith Jr. if you're a Rockets fan and you're familiar with Bill Simmons and Ryan Russillo from those two. I think a lot of people believe those two have it out for the Rockets. I would disagree on that front. But in a recent episode of the Bill Simmons podcast, the one that was aired on Sunday, they were talking about what they saw in Vegas, and they raved, both of them, about Jabari Smith Jr. The only person that they were more effusive with their praise of was Scoot Henderson. They loved what they saw out of Jabari Smith Jr. And I loved what I just heard out of Jabari Smith Jr. right there. And again, take everything that's coming out of Las Vegas with a grain of salt. But he had a season high in the Summer League with 38 points on Sunday, shooting 52% from the field, 9 of 10 from the free throw line, a steal, a block. And then that quote right there, where you hear that this is a guy who is still humble. Tell me that is not going to be Ime Udoka's number 1 guy this coming season. Tell me that guy isn't the person that Ime Udoka is going to look at and say, this is the guy that I want to be the leader of this team. He was great down the stretch last year. He really was. And it was the kind of play down the stretch that we saw from Jalen Green the year before. I'm not sure what happened in the offseason between Jalen Green's first season and last year. I really don't know. But we know that we did not see the progress from Jalen Green that we wanted to. And just take a look at the statistics. There was not a jump. This team was bad. He put up stats, but not the best stats, especially from a shooting perspective, from a efficiencies perspective. He put up stats on a bad team. He scored lots of points per game on a bad team. Green right now is a question mark, I think, as far as his long-term future with the Houston Rockets. It's not to say I think he's a bad or he's a bust. I just don't know that this is the kind of guy that you're going to have as your main player. Let's specify with that. It just seems unlikely that he is going to be the number 1 guy for a championship contender team. Jabari Smith, I feel differently about. I think as the season went on, he got better. He got more confident with his shot. And with the frame that he has, I think that there is a lot more upside with him. And to hear him be that humble in Las Vegas, yes, I'm making way too much out of a quote, but that excites the hell out of me. It does. And it should excite the hell out of you too. Really, he is getting rave reviews for what he is doing in Vegas. And to the point, he's not even playing in Vegas anymore. He played his 2 games. He's done. And yes, it's the Summer League. The Summer League is kind of a joke. Sean and I, we were talking about this. They don't even have a system to foul players out of a game. You could just hack the bejesus out of anybody out there. And think about all the hungry players who are playing in the Summer League just trying to find a way to be the 15th or 14th man on a roster. They are literally clawing other players so that they might have a chance to make a team.
I mean, to me, it's not even that really, because they still keep track of how many times you foul a guy. So if you're just fouling people, the team would be like, oh, well, this guy doesn't know how to play defense. All he does is foul people. It's more just like you're playing against guys that like I said, I think yesterday, it's like the last chance of NBA basketball. It's a whole bunch of young guys that are trying to make the league, and the vast majority of them will not make the league. So if you are the third overall pick, if you've played a year in the actual NBA, like, you should do what Jabari Smith did and just look like you don't belong there. Like, that's why you get to, he gets to leave early, basically. He only has to play 2 games because he averaged 33 points a game, and it reached a point to where there's no longer any need for you to be here because
Correct.
you are not developing anymore because you are too good for what the environment is. There's a reason LeBron doesn't play in summer. Like, there's a reason even like young stars don't play in summer league. It's like after a certain point, like John Morant, there's no reason for me to be here. Like,
100%.
You're not getting any additional experience because really, like, Jabari Smith got to play with the ball in his hand for the first time in an NBA setting. On Friday night? That was the first time. The very first time he had plays called for him.
And I gotta
was on
say,
Friday.
I mean, again, it's summer league, so take everything with a grain of salt. But I gotta say, what I saw in his highlights and it's summer league, I was impressed. I mean, it seems like there is actually potential with him as more than just a guy who is going to have the ball passed to him occasionally. And I wonder how that works, but that he's going there and does that, I guarantee you that means a lot to Ime Udoka. And I if I'm Jalen Green, and I've already got all this stuff circling me this offseason that doesn't necessarily have anything to do with basketball, but it's just a weird look, I would also be looking at myself in the mirror and wondering, okay, well, what exactly is my role going to be this year? And it's not like if Jalen Green had played in the summer league, that would necessarily prove that, like, hey, he's more of a leader. But
he also would have averaged like 35 points a game.
Yeah, exactly. Like, probably even more, to be perfectly honest, because he's a couple of years into the league. But I also think that Jabari Smith Jr., I look at him, someone who actually can play defense, someone who's actually a two sides of the court player, which Jalen Green is definitely not at this moment in time. I'm looking at him right now, and I bet that's going to be Ime Udoka's pet project. That's going to be Ime Udoka's teacher's pet. Like, that's going to be the guy that he looks at and says, this is who I want everyone to emulate.
And going back to Jabari Smith Jr.'s performance on the first game Friday night against the Blazers, in the first half, it was, oh my God, Jabari Smith might be a bust. And then he scored, I think it was 28 of his 33 points in the second half. That just shows how small these sample sizes are, and that it's summer league. Is that literally over the course of 48 minutes, it went from like, oh, Jabari Smith, oh my God, to like now on Monday or on Tuesday, we're like, this guy, like he's the number one guy I feel best about on the Rockets. That's just how quickly all this changes. And really, like, summer league's not built for takes. It's built for the actual teams to see their guys develop and see guys that aren't sexy names develop.
I totally agree with you. Everyone needs a bit of a bucket of ice on this, and perhaps to tuck things in the waistband to relax, because with this Jabari Smith Jr. stuff, it's happening against guys who are never going to play basketball again in the NBA or anywhere close to the NBA. Yeah. Maybe overseas they'll play, some of these guys. But if you're taking a look at like the two Rockets that currently have the most upside, maybe someone's going to argue Amen Thompson or Cam Whitmore in that, or Alperen Sengun. But if you're looking at the two guys that were drafted the highest that have been here the longest, Jalen Green, Jabari Smith Jr., I think it's trending towards Jabari Smith Jr. being if you're like to do a power rankings of Rockets trusted most by Ime Udoka, I bet at the start of the year, it's going to be Jabari Parker Jr. Jabari Smith Jr., yes.
Jabari Parker, a little too young to have a son in the NBA.
That's true. Although, does he have a brother?
Why would they have different last names and the same first name?
Yeah, where everyone's the same name, like the Odor family?
Yeah, no, I think that I think that the Rockets, I mean, again, like, Amen Thompson also looked great in the 3.5 quarters that he played in the summer league. And that, when there's guys, Amen Thompson drafted 4th, Jabari's drafted 3rd, like, you should look like you're a different dude than the other guys on the court. And so in the way that is a check mark. That is a check mark of like these guys look like they're too good for the like again the bottom of the barrel young guys or bottom of the barrel young guys mixed with some other blue chip prospects from other teams, but that's still like but they played Portland. They had 2 guys that are awesome on their team. When the Rockets had 4 guys that are going to be at least on the Rockets, if not in the rotation at some point the next 2 years. In the first game when they had Jabari, they had Tari Eason, who also looked really good, got shut down. Thompson and then Cam Whitmore. That's like that's way more guys than normally play in summer league that are like actually a part of the real team in the fall and in the winter. So that already shows that like yes, this is a young team. They're going to develop. These guys are all relatively blue chippy prospects, and they, for the most part, played like it.
100%. But I'm very excited about Jabari Smith Jr. I think
he needed it. Out of everyone on the Rockets, he needed it the most. Of like he needed just some positive PR. And now like in the networking event that is NBA Summer League, all the Ryan Russillos and Bill Simmons of the world are going to be like, I remember the 2 games that I was there at the half empty.
Jabari Smith began his MVP campaign.
Yeah, I was in Thomas and Mack Center, and let me tell you, he was awesome. He needed that, like because he to this point was the least impressive of all the recently drafted lottery picks for the Rockets. So he got the boost he needed. That's good. See you in October.